old training partner. He's on the new generation iron, Lee Priest. He would get the same bullshit questions over and over again. You know, what do you take? What's your cycle? You have all these people on Instagram that, you know, they tell all these bullshit protocols, but it takes years of training. I mean, he started at 12, 13 years old, picking up weights. Same thing with me. I mean, once I started hitting puberty and lifting weights, eating real food, you know, I put muscle on very easily, but I still love to train. I mean, back when I was in high school, they didn't have fucking pre-workouts. They had creatine. I mean, you would get a boner just to go to the gym and train and work out.
Perfect. All day. Let's put our plate on. Let's see what you can do here. We're gonna start off with a dynamic warm-up, and you gotta know Ed's background. He's not just only a bodybuilder. He was also a pro wrestler before, and he was a fullback at McNeil High School. When you used to hear those stories down in Round Rock of bodies everywhere, there's just them giving this son of a bitch the ball right at the middle. You know, in bodybuilding, you gotta choose your battles. You have to, so you don't, it's obviously you don't want to get injury, everything is a risk, everything is a benefit. Then it's also what you need. So to fully develop yourself muscularly, you're gonna have to do really heavy weight, limit strength your base, period. Okay, but you're also gonna have to develop those muscles. You know, you're gonna have to develop the right muscles to almost like a supernatural type of state. Like for instance, if all you ever do is like a military press, you're not gonna get your side delts to the proportion they need to be. You're gonna have to actually isolate those with various rables, dumbbells, cables, all that kind of stuff. There's no way you can get that supernatural development without actually targeting it. So it's not just eat like a powerlifter. I mean, train like a powerlifter, eat like a bodybuilder, stage ready. It doesn't work like that. So you have to do both. You have to get that limit strength base, and then you have to do the pump and pose type of stuff. So Ed already has that limit strength base. He's bench pressed 525 pounds, no bench press shirt, no nothing in a meet. Deadlifted 650, and he was set up to do about 700. Just wasn't there that day because of all the, the heavy bench training. You go watch him do his squats. He's a hell of a squatter too in that same area. Trap bar deadlift is obviously more of a hybrid between a squat and a deadlift than just a straight up deadlift. So what it's done for Ed and it's done for other people with similar issues is it's getting a little better leg drive. It's not optimal yet. It's not perfect technique on the trap bar, but it's better than it was. So he's basically, his ass is where it should be on a regular deadlift. So it's gonna help him in that way. The other problem Ed was having is sometimes he would kind of like bend his arms as he's lifting the weight up. Never does it on the trap bar, completely eliminated that. So it's been huge for his strength, huge for his development. So point being, Ed's explosive, his athletic background, he's got the powerlifting background, so a lot of what benefits him also, or for anybody with that kind of background, is you have to look at what are you doing most of. If you're only training like a powerlifter, like time under tension, things like that, squeezing, feeling the movements is gonna benefit you more than if, that's all you ever train. So if all you ever train is, pump, squeeze, lighter isolation movements, you're gonna benefit immediately from powerlifting. Like you switch over to like a powerlifting routine, boom, you grow. Okay, what happened right there? Ed just hit a massive PR. 735, 2 reps on the trap bar deadlift. He could have got 3 reps or 4, but the plates fell off. We need to get a bigger trap bar in here, hint, hint. Anyways, this is very important. So you're gonna see today, we're gonna do some tempo training, things like that, more time under tension. However, you gotta remember, limit strength is your base. So while we're refining this animal, we can't take away what's gotten him to this point. We just have to do it the right way. And it doesn't matter, like just think about it. If you can bench press 405, you're gonna do more reps of 225 or 315 than if you max out at 320. If you can bench press 405, your cable flies are gonna be heavier than if you max out at 225. So at the end of the day, the elite, best of the best bodybuilders, it's not a strength war. However, there needs to be a huge aspect of building up your base along the way. And you gotta remember, this is basic, but the word basic means fundamental, not elementary. 1, 2, 3, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold. So with Edge specifically, what we're doing is slowing it down to a lot of tempo training. So the tempo training, by default, is because something I got from, time and attention seminar, we more dialed it in with some stuff I learned from Charles Poliquin. So what we do is we'll assign like a 4 number thing to it. So the first number is gonna be the eccentric. So if it says like a 4, that would mean a 4-second eccentric. Next, the second number denotes a pause at the midpoint. So that you might be like a second, you're gonna just hold it right there. Okay, the third point is a concentric, how long it's gonna take. So if you see the third number is written as 1, 2, 3 on that lat pull down, that's concentric. And the fourth number denotes the pause at the top. So what that does with today what we did is we went a 5, 1, 3, 1. So each one of those reps, in essence, took 10 seconds. 8 reps is 80 seconds. So that's a totally different training stimulus. So Ed training around some injuries, he got a little buck wild here last year. They had a barbecue, and I was like, hey, you need to go to that gas barbecue, lift heavy. And I was at a powerlifting meet, so I wasn't there. And he went crazy, showing off doing some dumbbell pullovers, like 200 pounds. Had a little mishap with a tricep.
Boo-boo.
So since then, told him, hey, we got to do some tempo training. So a lot of stuff we're doing is tempo training. Initially, it was all tempo training. Now we've evolved away from, we're doing more of a holistic approach, but really making sure he's feeling the movements. If he doesn't feel it, he's got to kill it.
Well, it's even just learning through articles, and then with Josh, having the strength base, already bench press 523 to work around my right tricep healing. I've been doing a lot more incline, and even using like the machine incline at 45 degrees, and then also doing the tempo with the cable flies, 5 seconds on the eccentric and 3 seconds on the concentric, or reverse it with the tempo training. And then the sad part of it is even using the overhead shoulder press. Say if I put 6 plates aside, 585 instead of 675, granted it's still a machine, but on that eccentric, that's when the myosin doubles. So on the negative, that's when the muscle's actually growing even more. If you look at Dorian Yates, he was never a power lifter, even though he kind of had that strength base. But that was probably another reason why he was so full and round, along with Jay Cutler and all these other bodybuilders.
Dorian Yates once said the biggest mistake people make is they just totally bypass the negative. They don't put any thought or emphasis on it. Or so you saw today what we're doing is all these different techniques. For instance, on a seated row, you cheat the weight up, but then you have 5-second negatives. So you're taking and there's a time and a place for everything. And where most people screw up is they don't know where that time and that place is.
Well, he's studying like the deadlifts. Dorian and Jay never deadlifted below the shin. We did the hex bar or trap bar today at a higher deficit, but went 740 and did 2 reps. I probably could have kept going, but the weights fell off. But he always tells me to keep the arms straight. That way you don't tear a bicep. So if the goal is building muscle too, not always 1 rep maxing in a meet, is at the end, you got to figure out what am I trying to do now? And if you're trying to do too many things at once, then you're kind of defeating the purpose.
And the point is going more to that eccentric there too. I mean, we've talked about this before. You get that you recruit those high threshold motor units that are just primed to grow with the overload of eccentric. So overloading the eccentric is not just like, hey, you know what? Like I normally lat pull down 180 pounds. Now I just do it for 5 seconds. That's good because you can get a better mind-muscle connection that way. And there's other benefits to it, but I'm talking like overloading eccentric. You do heavier on that seated row than you actually could do, and then you're fighting like tooth and nail. Like that wants to get away, and you are gonna hold on and not let that go. Strap yourself in, and it's just an all-out war. That's an eccentric overload. That's the kind that produces that kind of muscle growth. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 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 Good. That's it on that one. Okay. Really good contractions on this one. Here we go. So what we're doing there, it's a seated, it's a good combination between like a seated face pull and throw pull. basically a hybrid movement works there for Ed because we kind of found out what's targeting that muscle. He wants to get a retraction, then start off with a more pronated grip, then retract, and as he comes up, he switches to a neutral grip. So, you know, he's kind of protracted when he's forward. As he comes back, he's retracted and further retracts, works all those muscles back there, hammers the rhomboids, is getting that detailed look across the upper back. I mean, if you just do all lat pull downs all day long, there's no detail across that upper back, that ain't gonna cut the muscle on the stage. So we need everything, get it wide, but also get it detailed. As you can see at the end, it was kind of funny. Ed was wearing straps for pull-ups. The dude's deadlifted 650 in a meet. You know, obviously no straps allowed in the meet. So, and he saw him warming up the trap bar today. Obviously a strong grip. That's the point, he was at fatigue. So, I mean, he really pushed it today.
Well, it's just, that's the difference between his programming, you know, his power building compared to like baby building. You know, I mean, I'm all into the, you know, looking pretty underneath the lights, but I mean, you can only tan and do machines and other stuff, but really if you want to really try and get that hard-earned muscle, it's not window dressing, you got to definitely throw around some weight, man.
In the mind, so this also takes a mentally tough person, because if all you do is so-called like just, you know, heavy power building, go in there, you know, throwing heavy T-bar prison rows and bent over rows, and you do, you know, you just throw the weight up there. Yeah, obviously it's gonna get you stronger. Obviously you get some development out of it just because you're going through that motion with that weight. But this takes, you know, here's what this takes, that like Juarez bar fighting mentality and marries it with that monk on the mountaintop mentality. And what I'm saying here is you go from the Juarez bar fight, that's the, you know, that's the trap bar deadlift. Then you get that Zen connection where he's so into it, he takes his shoes off to connect with everything. And what you do is you connect, mind-muscle connection, so everything is focused on the muscle. The intent is to make that muscle work as hard as possible, monk on the mountaintop. Then we'll go to the, you know, then we go to the eccentric overload. That's sort of like, you know, that is street fighting with the monk on the mountaintop. So you have to keep getting this, you basically got to make yourself a multiple personality schizophrenic to do this right when you're in the gym. That's why it's hard. So many people like to go heavy, go ape shit, and just, you know, that's fun. So many other people want to be a poodle dick and only feel things and never actually just, you know, all right, we're in that Juarez, you know, last round, we're making this fight circle like a phone booth, and we're gonna, you know, see who comes out alive. They want, you know, so you got to marry both of those. Juarez street fighter, monk on the mountaintop, synergistic result. Boom!
In a state of Zen, I get it.